to ask you that you can't videotape till you're not going to be able to videotape till we're inside that room. Because
Why?
I'm going to take you back to a private area, and the city attorney did say.
Then let's do it in the public area. Thank you.
We need to have a private conversation with you.
No, I don't want a private conversation that, I'm not allowed to videotape or anything.
No, you'll be able to videotape inside the room after I close the door and we're in a private room having a private conversation. But
I don't like the frame up. Why don't we just do it in a public area? So that there's no problem with the city attorney, the spins, the, misinterpretation of law. Why don't we just do it in a public area? What's the harm?
Because this is about your private business.
No, it's not, madam. This is public. This is me being denied my health care, being bamboozled by the CIT office of the site liaison, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's not.
Mr. Garza, people, this is their restroom area.
Well, we can go to a different area.
Yeah, and I'm going to have you not videotape while we're walking, because this is right by the domestic violence unit. We've had that conversation about victims.
Well, unfortunately, can I be honest with you? Not having the camera on doesn't make me feel safe because, of the way I've been mistreated in the past by yourself inclusively with, the abandonment, never having the contrition or humanity to account for it. So I can point the camera down, but I want to leave it on so that there isn't,
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind just having it pointing down to the ground.
And who are these people?
I'd like to introduce someone. We're inside the room, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
It's pointed down. I'm not the liar.
I'm going to need to keep a visual on that.
That's quite all right.
So let's go down the hallway. We're going to go.
Now, did you ever get a response from the city attorney for 632 that you keep promising me and promising me and promising me, and I still don't have it?
I haven't gotten a clear thing that I.
Yes, and how long ago have we been doing this?
So let's go inside here. And I'm going to need to have you sit on this side because there's private files on the right.
You mean right here?
Yes, please.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, please start.
Okay, so Mr. Garza, you know the day that we met at San Francisco General in the parking lot and you had that paper bag with you said bloody urine?
I didn't say bloody urine. I said I had some urine, I never said bloody, but yeah. It was the samples I was taking in for the problems I was having to be, conducive to getting myself emergency medical care, which you told me I wasn't entitled to get because of the policy for videotaping. Even though I explained to you that, it was allowable under programmatic access, but, you played your part and, denied me, the ability to enter, And was there a sheriff's person with you standing next to you that day also?
So what I'm going to respond to in that is, first of all, you did tell me that there was blood in your urine, and then...
I did?
Yes,
so that'll be on the video. Thank you.
You said it prior to you arriving there.
How could I have said it prior if I hadn't seen you? But thank you again for the spin. Please, let's continue.
Okay. You told the sergeant in the chief's office, and that's why I met you there, that you had medical concerns, and then you said what was happening. So, after that I didn't ever say you couldn't have medical treatment. In fact,
that's not true at all. But the videotape shows what you said.
In fact, I was quite concerned about you not getting medical treatment.
So then why didn't you walk me in so that I could get my medical treatment?
I said that we couldn't go in while you were videotaping.
So apparently I wasn't able to get it if I was videotaping, even under programmatic access, and my specific request for that per my disability. So, in effect, you denied me not only my ADA rights, but, the misrepresentation that you're making now is that there was no denial like you did before when you'd repeatedly tried that Jedi mind trick and telling me that I hadn't been denied services. A typical risk management approach as opposed to a humane approach.
So I explained that there are other people in the emergency room, and because I've watched your YouTube videos, I've seen that other folks that are getting medical treatment, like at your clinic, were posted on YouTube, and that is a violation of their privacy.
Excuse me, please elaborate on that. Which violation is it? You know, in a public place, seeking public services, how do they have an expectation of privacy in a public building? Please explain that misnomer to me.
Well, you already know it. There's a penal code when you're violating somebody's privacy, that they have the right of confidentiality unless they give the release to you. You didn't have
Actually, that's not true. The penal code that you're referring to is section 632, which you still haven't gotten from the city attorney, and that has to deal with wiretapping, surreptitiously taking, you know, videos or wiretapping or anything like that. I have never been surreptitious. I have constantly, you know, explained about my ADA condition, you know, the rights I've sought after them. So your spin, once again, Ms. Kruger, is inaccurate, but please continue for the camera and the YouTube audience.
Okay. I don't agree with what you're saying.
You've never agreed with anything I've said.
So how about we move on?
Well, first of all, I would love to move on.
Oh, I do need to tell you that we're going to have a time limit on this.
Okay, wonderful. I do want to move on, but before I move on,
it's not going to be more than 30 minutes.
But before I move on,
we started this 5 minutes ago. Sorry, you're not going to get to dictate to me. So this is what's going on. I was concerned, and I still am, about your medical welfare. These two folks here are from the Department of Public Health, from the Mobile Crisis Team.
Wonderful.
So we have...
Great. Which one of you is an ADA representative?
I would feel that both of them are, considering their medical...
Okay, what is your name?
I'm Dr. Pine.
You're the doctor that I tried to get a hold of at Tom Waddell, who consistently denied me the ability to videotape, even though Ms. Glaycorn on 519 said, you know, that I didn't have to sign for my medical release to get my own records, correct?
Actually, I think that might be a different doctor.
Dr. Pache, maybe?
That was Dr. Pache.
Right,
yes.
but I had interfaced with you regarding my things, and I just didn't receive any help from you.
I think that you did leave some voice messages for me a couple of years ago, and so our service was asked to come out because they were asked...
Okay, so now can you describe to me what your ADA qualifications are in the classes you've taken, since you're claiming to be an ADA expert in Title II?
Actually, I'm not claiming that. I want to
Thank
explain...
you. What about yourself, madam? Are you an ADA expert?
I won't elaborate on my personal choices of where I support, but I will make myself available to you as a nurse to assist you in moving forward with any information regarding your medical needs.
Wonderful. As a nurse, you know, you're not an ADA representative. Well, let's go forward with your spin about...
Are you in any pain right now?
Moving me... Oh, define pain.
Well, it's only subjective. You have to define your own pain.
Okay. Let's move on. As a nurse, I've repeatedly asked for help, repeatedly been denied. When I went to go to Tom Waddell to seek my medical care, I was told I couldn't videotape. When I asked them to quote me the law, they couldn't give me correct law. So as a nurse, could you please explain to me why you're here now, you know, years later, with me continually seeking help? And wouldn't you also agree that as a nurse, I should feel like I should be able to trust you guys, because there's going to be some results, some action, some accountability, and that this isn't going to be whitewashed over, you know, let's help you now, while forgetting all about the past, the harm, never accounting for it, you know, and to continue to spin the illusion that we want to help you now, and the only reason that you guys are here is because I've continued to follow up, not on the goodness of the Department of Public Health, which, as a matter of fact, has repeatedly broken HIPAA law, and, you know, was also guilty of, you know, denying me emergency care in 2001 that I have a signed confession for. So apparently this ADA individual has been harmed repeatedly by the city. Now, as a nurse, could you please explain that to me, and how we're going to ensure to do no harm, to protect from injustice, all these things as a nurse that you took an oath to that I've not received to date?
It sounds to me like you've made a choice. You'd rather videotape than to get your health needs met. So when you walk into a clinic, do you see anybody else holding a camera up?
Is it against the law, madam?
What about the other people?
You
that are
didn't
in
answer the
clinic?
question.
Well,
Is
I
it
haven't
against
heard.
the law, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
It is? Can you tell me what law it is?
I can't give you a number, but I can tell you that if I walk into a doctor's office, I sure wouldn't want someone videotaping me.
You mean receiving treatment? I'm not videotaping anybody receiving treatment. It's a nice, lovely spin. Now,
You know what
since
today
you
is?
haven't discussed
As
the
of
law,
today,
and
do
since
you
you've
have-
offered
Mr.
your
Garza,
opinion, can I
do you
please
have-
finish?
Excuse
Do
me,
you
you're
have
raising
any?
your voice
Do you have
though.
any medical needs
Yes.
or mental health needs that we can assist you with,
Yes.
regardless of what brought us here. Isn't that the bottom line?
No, the
To
bottom
get
line
your
is
needs
accountability, the fact that I've not received it in the past, and the fact that the only reason you're making this offer now is because I have been videotaping and pointing out the illegalities, the continual harm, and everything else. Would you, as a nurse, not acknowledge that? Now, let me explain what my disability is, so that you can fully understand this. I have what's known as an adjustment disorder. I cannot adjust to disorder. I'm a well-adjusted individual in a maladjusted society. And I've been given nothing but disorder. For you to claim that you want to help me here and now, well, I'm willing to accept that. I still want to understand why I didn't receive it in the past, who's going to account for it, and why it's taken me this long, this depth, this breadth, to even get this common decency afforded to me.
Do you want to move forward or you want to move backwards?
I don't believe
Do you
that
wanna
was an
live?
answer to the
Do
question.
you want to live in a healthy life?
Define wanting to live.
That's your definition.
Okay,
It is for
my
you.
definition of wanting to live is having hope, having the laws obeyed, not being played with mentally, not being fed disorder. And by you asking me to go forward while now acknowledging the disorders of the past is not helping my condition. As a matter of fact, it's setting it off.
Okay.
Mr. Garza, we were requested to outreach to you from a mental health perspective. That's what our service is, the mobile
I'm
crisis
willing to
team.
set up a time to go in and to receive the treatment that I'm looking for and to videotape the receipt of it. If you're willing to help. If that is your supposition. You know, I can walk in just like I did earlier with the camera pointed down until we get to the room and videotape it. If that is your supposition. If that is what you truly mean, just like we did here. It's never been about me videotaping somebody else, trying to get into somebody else's privacy. It's always been about me ensuring I get, per my disability, and the fact that I have a signed confession from the city. Do you know about that? Having broken federal emergency law. Do you know about that?
I'm familiar with some of the actions that you've taken.
So you're
against
familiar with the
city.
fact that I do have a signed confession from the city acknowledging fault and guilt for having broken federal law that was signed in 2007 against a person with an adjustment disorder who now has an arrest record, never having been arrested, sitting next to a signed confession by the city for the crime that they committed, yet I'm the one with the adjustment disorder. And that confession was signed in 2007, it's 2014, and no one has explained it to me. But yet I realize, per your spins, you're going to try and frame it as I'm the one with the disorder, simply holding people accountable, ensuring people's rights, and everything else. In response to your question, madam, I would not want to live in a world where this deceit continues and there's no accountability. Yes, sir.
What would help us understand services that might be available to you, that might be of assistance to you, could you please explain some of the maybe the mental health support that you might find?
I'd be happy to do
assistance?
that once we have, I'm in getting treatment, and I'm video recording it.
Okay. Are there any emergent mental health concerns that you have right now?
You'd have to define that.
Usually that's if people are having thoughts of self-harm, thoughts of harming other folks.
Well, now you would have to define thoughts of self-harm. Now let me explain why.
Okay.
Given the fact that I've been dead right and that I have an adjustment disorder and I get nothing but disorder from you, would it not be self-harm in me continuing to have expectations of help when I've already proven that it doesn't and there is no place for me here? I mean, it's an interesting question. You'd have to define, like I said, self-harm. Being in the situation I've been for the last 7 years, continually seeking treatment, continually trying to do what's right and hold people accountable, I think some people would say that's self-harm because I haven't succumbed to all the illegalities that I've been placed through. I simply said, no, this is wrong. I'm going to stand up for what's right. Sort of like I've explained to other people, the Snowden dilemma. At the end of times, it comes down to a decision, doing what's right and doing what's easy. And I'm sorry, I have an adjustment disorder. I'm a well-adjusted individual in a maladjusted society, and I will strive and endeavor to do what's right, always to my dying breath, because that's what matters. We'll be judged on our deeds and our actions, not our false words.
think in this context, I was thinking self-harm more in having discrete suicidal thoughts or
Well, who would
suicidal
want to
intent.
live in a life where you get no help, where you get no housing assistance, where you have to get up when you're sick and fight people, when you go down to emergency and are denied emergency care by the CIT officer who is supposed to be there to help people, with, mental stuff. But as she puts it to me, how is this a police matter? Well, So my question remains, I'm more than interested to go in, start receiving treatment, as I've said all along, as long as I'm allowed to videotape the receipt of it under programmatic access, which is what I've consistently, repeatedly requested. And unfortunately, it's taken me this long to get any humanity because I actually can't answer that question. I'm still waiting to find out why. But anyway, can we do that? Can we set up, a time for me to go in and receive the treatment and me videotape and go forward?
What I would need to do is speak more with people in our administration, so the Behavioral Health Division of Community Behavioral Health Services, get a better understanding of the resources that are available, some of the parameters under which people can receive treatment.
So are you trying to get out of this by saying that I'm not entitled to programmatic access, everything I'm requesting?
No.
Since you just offered, what is it that we could do for you, and I've explained it to you in a civilized way. Now you've got to go back and check with everybody. Was your offer sincere? What am I asking for that's unreasonable?
I'm just trying to gather more details and explain to you the
Well,
process.
if you dealt with me in the past, I'm sure you've had plenty of details. I'm sure you could talk to Dr. Pachi about the game plan he played with me as far as receiving my medical records and then, of course, having to sign a HIPAA form when I didn't have to. I'm sure all that paperwork is there if you're sincere.
Regarding the mental health concerns that you might have or the treatment that you might be interested in receiving, that's where I would need to go back and get some more information. I'd like to identify the best way to communicate with you regarding services that are available to you, if that's by telephone, if that's by mail, if that's by email. I can provide that information to you just to set up expectations.
No, I don't want any false expectations. I want to know from you, yes or no, since you're the crisis intervention people, whether or not, you can effectuate this, beginning of my health care, primary, every other way, mental, whatever, and for me to videotape the receipt of it under programmatic access. Since you guys are not ADA representatives, since you haven't been trained that I'm dead right when it comes to the law, and since I have an adjustment disorder, I don't want to be fed any more disorder. I think I've asked the question quite specifically, quite certainly, and quite humanely.
Well, and the reason I'm not giving you as specific an answer as you want is because you are referring to needs where I feel like it is in everyone's best interest for me to.
So you haven't been trained in the ADA programmatic access point, but yet I've been misled into believe that you guys are the ADA people, who would understand this, and that you were being brought in for this specific purpose. Interesting. Very interesting. So go ahead and email me, ask at the time to come in, start receiving services and videotape. And if that falls by the wayside, Dr. Pine, it's on video for the YouTube audience and everyone to see the continuation of the gameplay. Ms. Kruger, my questions to you still remain about setting up a meeting to go over the prior abandonment, about whether or not, you can go down with me to San Francisco General to get my medical records, since, we both know that I'm entitled to them. And last time I went, I was denied again. HIPAA law was broken. There's some other things that I had written to you about as far as, maybe going over to DPH to ensure that I get my medical care. But, if this falls through, which, of course, I'll believe when I see, because remember, I have an adjustment disorder. I can't wait to see what disorder is the next thing I'm fed, or whether I receive the help. Or to MOD, which denied me the ability to come in, even though it was a public building, or OCC and HRC, which are under the jurisdiction of the sheriff, which told me that there was an order against me for entering the building. Of course, that order wasn't there. Now, let's not forget that the reason I initially came to you over a year ago and you abandoned me was because of the 8/15/12 incident where the Department of Public Health had, denied me access and accommodation to my health care based on their bogus, fake restraining order. Since it was a special units victim and since you are the psych liaison, but I'm sure you'll tell me it's not a police matter. Also, to go to the San Francisco Library where I was not allowed to see the social worker based on their false interpretation of expectation of privacy in my programmatic access request. I want us to educate the rest of the city and county as to not only my disability, but what this whole sham has been. Also, the chief of police. Because remember, the fact that you've continually failed me.
So you have 10 more minutes, so let's figure out what we're going to do with that. What I'm hearing here is, first of all, we've talked about the past, and I totally agree that I'm with what you were saying earlier. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on the past.
So you're not going to account for the prior stuff, but yet
So
I'm supposed to trust you.
What I wanted to ask...
Isn't that like being the priest that molested me?
So, Mr. Garza?
You didn't answer the question.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to respond
Of course
to
not.
a question like
I
that.
believe that.
So
how are you helping me by not being accountable for the past misdeeds?
So I need to ask you a question. I don't agree with you. We've talked about it before.
And I don't agree with you. But that's okay. The YouTube audience is watching.
Okay,
They've seen the videos.
You didn't like what I did, so...
No. You didn't do what you were supposed to do.
So your interpretation
Totally
is that
false.
I didn't do anything at all.
That's all right.
So we could, instead of us going back and forth about it, because...
Would you like for me to pull my records so that we don't have to go back and forth about it? Would you like for me to pull the facts and evidence? Or would you continue to like to spin and harm me more by throwing more disorder at me? Please, for the YouTube audience.
I just want to re-clarify in front of the medical professionals about this adjustment disorder and you're deciding that you have an ADA issue. Is that a self-diagnosis?
I'm sorry, you didn't answer my questions. I don't think I have to answer yours.
Well, so it is, because you have said that in the past.
No, I haven't, but that's
So
your take.
If you're going to say that all these things are being done to you and it wasn't a proper medical diagnosis,
I didn't say that either, so it's
you're
nice to know you're putting words in my mouth and spinning as opposed to getting me help. But the
So-
YouTube audience is watching it.
So we're going to need to, so I have to say, just from being on the outside of this, what you have been doing, I'm not seeing where that is getting you anywhere. We have a chance of having, hopefully, your needs being able to be met if we can work together.
Work together, you mean with the priest that molested me, who won't come clean, who won't have contrition, work together.
So when he's brought that up the first time, just for you guys to know, I was very upset for him because I thought if that's something horrific that was done to him, but that is just, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Garza, is, from what I understand, that's just a figure of speech to show the horribleness of how people can act? Or is
you're referring to the part about the priest that molested me.
Yes.
You're not referring to the fact that I came to you about the 8/15/12 incident in which there was a bogus restraining order, and as the CIT and psych liaison in the special victims unit, you abandoned me.
See, I don't agree with that's what I did. So
I have the paperwork. Would you like to go over it with me with the evidence, or would you continue to like to, voice your opinion?
Mr. Garza, we have 6 minutes. Are we going to accomplish anything today?
Well, I don't know. You keep throwing disorder at me. I'm hoping that with these individuals, they will contact me, set up a meeting so I can go in, receive my health care, and videotape the receipt of it. Will you go down with me to San Francisco General to pick up my medical records that I don't have to sign a HIPAA release form for?
What I would like to do is go down there by myself and see what they're willing to do. But
that would be fine.
Didn't Sergeant Yamaguchi already try to get your records after you signed a release and sent it to him?
I never signed a release and sent it to him.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So that would be fine for you to go down there. In addition, when you go down there and ask them about my records, also tell them that I want to go down to patient advocacy and start filing my multiple complaints and videotaping the receipt of it. Also inform them when you go down and ask for my medical records that I was given incorrect HIPAA law by the Director of Health Information Systems there at the hospital, and that I'd like for him to be accountable. Of course, I'm sure that he's going to be in denial mode, just like the CIT officer has been about the past.
May I ask, are you asking for every contact that you've had at San Francisco General as far as your medical records, or are you asking for something specific at San Francisco General?
The stuff that I sunshine them for. It's there, you know.
Okay, because remember, I did go down there to get the form, and they said that they...
You mean the HIPAA release form that I don't have to sign? Thank you for the,
No, you would have to sign it, but...
I don't have to sign it, correct. According to Ms. Gleghorn, you know, who said that on 5/19/2014 in front of the Ministry of Sunshine. And of course...
She did say that, and she's on YouTube, so I'm going to have to re-clarify that. It is on YouTube, is it? So let's work that out. Was there any questions, because we are down
No,
to
well,
5 minutes.
one other thing I want to
Dr.
point out,
Pine.
please, really
Yes,
quickly while
yes.
while we're talking about
Yes,
it's on
sir.
YouTube. Let's not forget that this is the same Gleghorn that in May of 2012 had gotten up and told the Sunshine Task Force that if I didn't sign it, I wouldn't be allowed to get these records. You know, and then a few months later wrote me and said that I could, you know, and I was never allowed to go in front of the Ministry of Sunshine to hold her accountable. Let's also not forget that this is the same Miss Gleghorn who said that there's an exclusionary policy, 1%, that allows me not to sign because it's a port in any storm instead of accounting for the illegalities. It's a ruse, it's a lie. When I asked to pick up this policy, I was informed that there's no such policy. So apparently it was another lie. So maybe you can also go down with me to 1380 and confront Ms. Gleghorn about the habitual lying and the fact that she has to lie in order to look good because of all the law-breaking activity that's happened to me. And it's only because I continued to push that now all of a sudden there's this 1% exclusionary clause where I don't have to sign.
So for me, if I was in your position, all this pushing, I'm not seeing where it's gotten you.
Oh, well, I have to disagree wholeheartedly like you disagreed with me. I've got over 500 videos. I've shown the people that finally I might get some help, but not from you guys doing the right thing, but from me continually pushing. So I would have to disagree with you wholeheartedly once again.
Okay, but I just hope that you don't end up having criminal consequences for not being able to...
Well, and I just hope you don't end up having criminal consequences for all the game playing, you know, all the specific harm that you've done to me in the past that you've not have been accountable for. But maybe it's something that the FBI and the OIG should look into, just like they're doing for the Veterans Affairs and the denial of their health care. Wouldn't you agree?
No.
Of course not, but that's okay. I'll continue to follow up with the right people.
Okay, but...
So when will you answer me about going down to San Francisco General so that we can get this taken? Oh, you're going to go, and then you'll get back to me. Please do it via email, and we'll continue to document.
All right, did you guys have any questions?
You mentioned the Veterans Association. Have you ever been a vet? Are you a vet?
You mean the Veterans Affair?
Have you ever been a vet? Are you a vet?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
But it still doesn't negate from the fact that the veterans have been denied their health care by administrators and bureaucrats, which were allowed to break the law. Very similar to what I'm going, and their misinterpretations of what the law is. Thank God we've got the FBI now doing a criminal investigation into this. Maybe we can have them do it here too.
I have to say that I spoke to the FBI because I heard that you had gone over there, and they're seeing you as a person with a mental illness, and there is not an investigation going on.
Well, I thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, so I think it's important for you to understand that you're not accomplishing things. You're causing a lot of grief and spending a lot of time spinning around in a circle, and I'm feeling like you're getting more.
Wow, this is the person who abandoned me, who won't even have the contrition and humanity
So
to do the right thing,
feeling-
telling me that I'm wrong.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying how other people are interpreting your actions.
Oh, you mean other people are interpreting my actions, just like everyone who told me I was wrong about not being denied emergency care in 2001, and I now have the signed confession, and nobody's come
Okay.
forward with it? Oh, please continue to spin.
I don't think that actually happened.
You don't think I have a signed
Yes.
confession? You don't think I wasn't denied emergency services and my case wasn't illegally dismissed in federal
Well,
court?
it was dismissed. That's what I'm saying.
Ah, and why was it dismissed if they were
You're
going to
saying
sign a
that
confession
you
4
were-
years
You
later?
were saying that you were vindicated, but you actually weren't.
I wasn't. There isn't a signed confession that admits that there...
Mr. Garza, did you want Dr. Pine to be able to contact you? Because if so, would you?
I've already said yes.
Okay, so would you write down your email for him?
He already
Give it to
has
him?
that.
Why, I don't think
If he
does.
goes back into the records, nothing has changed.
No, we got a brand new email system and things didn't transfer over the entire county.
Oh, wow. Is this like the IRS?
I'm just
I
letting you know, Mr. Garza. I
understand.
personally was promised everything would be forwarded and it wasn't. I don't know if that happened with you, but it did with me.
It's been an inconsistent.
Yeah, so it would just be.
Wow.
Let-
2014, and this is what we get.
This is what, would you make sure he can understand what?
Yeah,
you're
but I'd
doing?
have to turn this off. I don't want it to be public.
Right.
All right, so guys, thank you. This is going on YouTube, and then I will turn this off, and we'll go from there for you.
Okay.
And as soon as you get this email address, you'll contact me, and I'll be able to come in, videotape the receipt of my services under programmatic access that I've continually, repeatedly requested.
We'll be in contact via email.
That's not a yes or a no, but thank you. I
It's
understand.
not a yes or a no.
Of course, of
Right.
course, of course. It's just more illusion. I'll believe it when I see it. And with you, madam, you know, I'll still wait to hear from the city attorney in 632, going to San Francisco General, going to the Department of Public Health, going down to 25 Van Ness, and of course, coming clean as the priest that molested me and acknowledging the abandonment in the future. But, you know, I can only continue to ask for what's right because, of course, I'm the one with the adjustment disorder.
But
Thank you.
it's self-diagnosis.
I never said it.
Well-
No, you're the one who's saying that. No.
Yes.
This is exactly what I was told by Mitchell Katz. Thank you.